A Napa guy knows the only way you'd give a freshly minted driver a brand new car is if he promises to never drive it. Instead, let him grind the gears and knock over the neighbor's mailbox in something a little more suited to his skill level. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, he can safely drive something that's nearly as old as he is. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for him. That's Napa know-how.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good late morning to you, or early afternoon to you, folks. And thank you for tuning in with me once again for a special edition of True Conservative Radio. And, of course, I am your host, the man they call Ghost. And once again, I want to thank you for tuning in with me on this early edition here. Check it out, folks. The reason I'm having an early edition of True Conservative Radio is, first and foremost, I wasn't able to get a hold of a broadcast yesterday or last evening, I should say, so I kind of skipped a day. And at the same time, there's been a lot of things that have arose in the political news arena, and we want to talk about those this evening, but at the same time, we're also witnessing a lot of economic woes that are starting to come to flourish here, not only beneath the surface, but the mainstream media is also starting to acknowledge these problems that I've been discussing on a consistent basis here on this program. Once again, folks, we are broadcasting from the Blog Talk Radio Network, and if you want to get to the chat room, if you're listening on another part of the internet, you can get to the chat room at blogtalkradio.com/ghost. That's GHOST, and go ahead and push the chat room option there. But we're going to start talking about a lot of subject matters. I wanted to go ahead and underscore something I was harping on the last show. We were talking about Elliot Spitzer. We were talking about how he completely fell from grace like a typical hypocrite, and I was calling for his resignation based on the moral standard that this piece of trash put for himself. And we discussed a good portion of the day before yesterday's show on Elliot Spitzer, and of course I was a little angry because I felt sorry for the man's wife, his three little girls that have to suffer the ridicule that this man has put them through. And of course I was a little hostile, I was a little upset at the fact that this man did not want to step down. But folks, finally, this adulterous piece of prostitution ring patronizing piece of trash, Elliot Spitzer, has finally stepped down as of yesterday afternoon. And let me tell you something, folks, it was only the right thing to do. I know I was screaming my head off. The vein in the top of my forehead was about to burst itself because I was absolutely disgusted that a man who put himself at such a high moral standard can sit here and offer this absolute horrific hypocrisy. And that's exactly why I devoted a pretty good portion of day before yesterday's show to Elliot Spitzer. Elliot Spitzer. And I'm really glad that this piece of trash stepped down, because it was the only right thing for him to do. I mean, this was a man who prosecuted, all right? He prosecuted prostitution rings and didn't have too much favorable things to say about him once he prosecuted these prostitution rings, folks. I mean, how much more hypocrisy can you get? And this is why I'm glad that Elliot Spitzer decided to do the right thing and step down as New York's governor so he can save the face of that public office. And not only save the face of that public office, but save the face for himself. And, you know, I'm not taking any kind of enjoyment in this man's demise, believe me. I mean, this is a horrific story. It only underscores the fact that all these power-hungry autocrats that we send to public office actually believe that they're above the law. And this Elliot Spitzer nonsense only proves that, folks. And this is what I've been telling everyone the whole time out here. All right? And I just wanted to underscore the fact, since we were on last, like I said, I was hooping and hollering about how Elliot Spitzer should be stepping down. He's ruined the sanctity of the public office seat that he possesses. He ruined the sanctity of marriage. You see his poor wife standing next to him in front of the spotlight there. It looked like somebody shot her damn dog in front of her. I felt sorry for the woman. I feel sorry for those 3 daughters. And I'm glad that Elliot Spitzer took his ego out of his clogged up ass crack, with all due respect, and stepped down as governor of New York. It was only the right thing to do, given the tremendous high moral standard that this piece of trash put for himself. And I'm really glad that none of these Democrats out here, these long-haired liberal bedwetting hippies, I'm really glad that none of them came out and tried to give this idiot any kind of support. Because it's hypocrisy, folks. I mean, don't you understand it? This is a man who prosecuted prostitution rings under the rule of law, and here this man is patronizing the same black market that he prosecuted, for Christ's sake. I mean, you can't get any more hypocrite than that, folks. And I'm glad that this man stepped down. I'm not taking any pleasure in this man's demise, like I said, folks. But it just goes to show the underscore of power. Power corrupts, folks. And you want to know why power corrupts even at a more frequent pace in this society? Because the American people have fallen asleep at the wheel. Our forefathers gave us a constitution. They accorded us unalienable rights that weren't given to man prior to the document called the American Constitution. And I don't understand why nobody is utilizing this government that was made by the people for the people. They're falling asleep at the wheel, my friend. And this is why these people that are elected to public office, that's why these people are so corrupted, because the American people aren't doing their jobs. And what is the American people's jobs? It's to run the government, all right, to participate in this government, to make sure that these power-hungry autocrats that we send to office aren't sitting there abusing their powers. Instead, the general American populace out here is more worried about ridiculous nonsense. You know it and I know it. Just take a look at the mainstream media, which is the main source of news and information for most folks out here in America. What are they telling us? I mean, what is the mainstream media letting us know? They're letting us know if Britney Spears shaved her noggin again. You know, they're giving us crotch shots of these ridiculous, philanderous whore bags that are pop culture icons out here. We're worried about what animal is going to be on Paris Hilton's crotch. This is what the mainstream media is telling us, folks, and it's not telling us the information that we need. So you have to seek it yourself. All right, and I know a lot of people don't want to participate in their government, even though they try to say they do, even though they're out here holding up signs for their candidate, even though they're out here volunteering or doing whatever the garbage they think they're doing. They're not doing enough. And the reason I'm saying they're not doing enough, you just take a good whiff at the corruption that is just waving itself through the bureaucratic system of our government. And why is it, folks? Because we are falling asleep at the wheel. We're falling asleep at the wheel. We're not participating in this government properly. You just take a look at the record numbers that the Democrats are getting in their primaries. I mean, just take a look at the record numbers of people that are going out and are voting in the Democratic caucuses and primaries. And I would bet you money, all right, that most of these Nimrods are voting on ridiculous nonsense. Now, what am I talking about when it comes to ridiculous nonsense? Well, like I've stated over and over and over again, I've had people call me up saying, well, Ghost, I'm voting for Barack Obama because he's got nice teeth. I'm voting for Hillary Clinton because we need a woman. I mean, ridiculous garbage that don't affect you or me as true American people. And what does affect us, folks? Well, you know what affects us. It's garbage like Elliot Spitzer is what affects us, folks. Somebody who thinks he's above the law because we accorded him the right to be the leader of our particular society, our state, our congressional seat, our Senate seats, our president's seat. And we're falling asleep at the wheel thinking these idiots are just going to have our best interests in hand, hands down. They're not going to do it, folks, unless we start participating in this government properly. And this is what I've been talking about, folks. And once again, I am glad Eliot Spitzer has stepped down from the New York governor's seat because he has disrespected not only his family, but he has disrespected that seat of office that he had prior to his resignation yesterday afternoon. And that's all there is about that. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and move on from that subject matter, folks, because I was hooping and hollering. I was screaming my head off because I couldn't believe that Eliot Spitzer, a man that put himself on such a high moral pedestal, could sit here and slap everybody who believed him in the face. And I'm not a Democrat, folks. I'm not even a Republican anymore, folks. I'm a true conservative, but I hate this blatant form of hypocrisy. And let me tell you something, folks, you should hate it too. You should hate it too because it's these idiots that are slapping the American people in the face. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move on from the Eliot Spitzer nonsense. I'm just glad that this man has stepped down. I know that the mainstream media has found out the philanderous whore that he apparently patronized and paid services for, if you will. Some 22-year-old bimbo. Apparently they have located her MySpace page, and apparently she's some sort of aspiring singer. Well, how convenient is that? Of course, all philanderous whores in today's modern-day pop culture seem to be singers out here. Isn't that right? They all want to be singers. Old Britney Spears. I mean, if that isn't a bigger slut bag, I don't know what is. Oh, yeah, Paris Hilton. She also tried to put out some sort of ridiculous music compilation. Lindsay Lohan. I mean, if you name all these supposed female pop icons out here, these female pop icons are all they're infecting America. They're morally bankrupting America. And if you don't believe me, folks, you just take a good look around you, okay? Take a good look at what's happening. Take a look at the social landscape of America. Take a look at the fact that single-parent families are now the social norm. They're not a social minority anymore, folks. They are the social norm. You take a look at divorce rates. You take a look at the average person out here, they're having about 5 or 6 different divorces. They're changing divorces like they're changing dirty, crappy underwear. We are morally bankrupt, and I'm not basing morality on any type of religious principles, folks. I am basing morality on a humanistic moral ethos. All right? I mean, that's all I'm simply basing morality on. If we don't have any morality, folks, we're gone. And that's what most of these Nimrods that are out here criticizing me. All right, and there's a lot of people on the internet that are criticizing me. They're spreading slanderous lies about me, personal attacking me because I am a true conservative. And I believe that we as American people need to start understanding that we need to go back and get some moral integrity. And what do I mean by moral integrity? Well, I'm just simply stating, if you're going to go out and you're going to, participate in any kind of sexual activity, don't have children, you piece of crap. All right, I mean, if you're going to go and enter into the sanctity of marriage, don't get divorced. Make sure you're marrying somebody for the right reasons out here. And you see, folks, and everybody knows, whoever's been patronizing my show on a consistent basis, you know that I'm an anti-feminist, folks. And I blame the moral bankruptcy of America mostly on the feminist movement. Because the feminist movement, just to reiterate for folks that don't know my stance on the feminist movement, the feminist movement has basically equated the modern-day American woman into a subliminal prostitute, folks. All right, and if you don't believe me, go take a look at that whore that Eliot Spitzer was patronizing at about whatever, $3,000, $5,000 an hour, whatever it was. Take a good look at her MySpace page if you happen to find it, and take a look and listen of what her influence in life is. It's money, folks. And that's what the modern-day American female is boiled down to. All right, they're subliminal prostitutes. Now, you look at the modern-day young man out here, and I feel bad for these young men. I mean, I'm an employer, like I've stated. I employ a lot of 20-somethings out here. And every time I cut them a paycheck, these guys are out here spending money on fancy clothes, gold watches, nice cars. Is it because they want to appease their own materialistic needs? No. It's because it attracts women, folks. And that, by very definition, is prostitution. I mean, if it takes monetary value or an accumulation of materialistic widgets to attract a woman in modern-day society, that is prostitution. And this feminist movement equates this ridiculous garbage as some sort of woman liberation. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is take a good whiff of modern-day pop culture, take a look at all the pop culture icons that are female nowadays. Take a good look at Beyonce Knowles out here. Beyonce Knowles, even in her music, even in her lyrics, it says, well, you can pay my bills and then maybe we can chill. I mean, that's the lyrics to one of her songs, folks. If you pay my bills, maybe we can chill. I mean, this is what the modern-day society is basically reduced itself to. I mean, love and romance and marriage, it's no longer existed anymore. It's all monetary, folks. And this is what's morally bankrupt in America out here. Seriously. And I think that the sooner society acknowledges this social ill, the better off society is going to be. See, most of society out here, they just want to, sit back and think that everything's okay, that the feminist movement is somehow, gaining some sort of positive influence in society. Positive influence? Why don't you take a good whiff of what the modern-day pop culture is? Huh? You want to get the culmination of the feminist movement? You take a good look at Britney Spears. Take a good look at Lindsay Lohan. Take a good look at Paris Hilton, for Christ's sake. I mean, and that's the equivalent of woman liberation. Now, you see, folks, whenever I try to provide discourse on these subject matters, and of course, I have all bunch of feminists, a bunch of hysterically idealistic women that are out here. They'll call me up. They'll call me a feminist. They'll call me a chauvinist. They'll call me a chauvinist, a misogynist, a wife beater. I've been called every name in the book, but let me tell you something, folks. It's nothing of that nature. Don't get dissuaded by propaganda, because the feminist movement, folks, it's rooted in communism. So propaganda is what they utilize to infiltrate the woman's psyche. Now, I do acknowledge that there was a problem, all right? There was a gender problem at the turn of the 20th century and previous. But we had feminists at that time, the suffrage movement, that accorded the woman the right to vote, that accorded the woman the right to work. And those women were true patriots, folks, and I acknowledge their contribution to civilization. But what the feminist movement has turned out now, I mean, what it's turned into right now is just completely ridiculous, and I will not stop talking about it, folks. I am not going to stop talking about it until people start recognizing that this feminist crap, this Gloria Steinem, hairy armpitted, muff-diving horse crap, is morally bankrupting America. And not only is it morally bankrupting America, but it's morally bankrupting all westernized nations in the international community. And if you don't believe me, go take a look at the divorce rates in other westernized countries. Take a look at the divorce rates in Australia. Take a look at the divorce rates in Germany, in other westernized nations, and you will see a direct correlation of the subject matters that I am discussing. I'm both disgusted, but I am discussing presently. And you see, folks, I just want to get back to a moral standard that's comparable to creating a good civilization. And what do I mean by that? I'm talking about putting emphasis on the family. You notice that you got the decimation of the American family? You've got the decimation of the family in most westernized nations. Why? I'll tell you why, folks. I'll tell you why, because we are morally bankrupt based on ideals. All right? And you see, anybody who tries to debate me on these subject matters, that, oh, well, Ghost, what you're witnessing is social evolution. That's what idiots try to debate me on. They try to equate the decimation of the American family, all right, the prevalence of single-parent families, the prevalence of divorces. They try to equate that with social evolution. And that's a bunch of horse crap. And the reason I say that, folks, is because there is empirical evidence, all right? Just look at the records of geology, the records of anthropology, the records of archaeology. The first civilization, the first intelligent man, the first conscious man, what was the motivating factor? What was the motivating factor for the first civilization? What was the motivating factor for the first man? Family. That's what it was, folks. So all these dumbass liberal pieces of garbage that try to equate what is happening here in society as some type of social evolution, they don't know their asses from their elbows. And to be honest with you, if somebody told me that in front of me, in front of my face, I would repeatedly beat them over the head with an Acme brick. Because it's that type of ignorance that is ruining society here in America. And I honestly mean that, folks. And if you don't want to see it, if you want, all you want to do is look at me with a sour face about it, well, you have been anesthetized with all the propaganda. And there's a lot of it, folks. There's a lot of propaganda. I mean, just take a look at this ridiculous liberal media that's trying to sell us this crap. You take a look at these government institutions, this gender-biased justice system. You take a look at all these factors. And these are methods of propaganda that are anesthetizing our country into believing that this is okay. It's not okay, damn it. It's not okay. And that's why I come up here on a consistent basis, folks, because I want people to understand that this is not okay, all right? The America we are living in right now is not okay. The social landscape we are participating in is not okay. Single-parent families is not okay, all right? And that's what I'm simply trying to get across in this program out here. Now, folks, I understand we live in America, and if you want to be if you want to be some philanderous piece of trash, all right, if you want to be some deviant, that is completely up to you, all right? This is America. We have the freedom of choice. I mean, unfortunately, we have the freedom of choice in other arenas, but we have the freedom of thought, and we have the freedom to choose our thoughts. And if you want to be a sexual deviant, that's your right. But just don't have children, you piece of crap, and that's what I'm talking about. If you're going to get into a marriage, don't get divorced. All right? And if you get divorced, and you see I have a lot of people that call me up on this program, folks, and they try to say, oh, well, Ghost, I had to get divorced. I couldn't stand the woman. Or I have women call me up, oh, I had to get divorced, Ghost. The man was beating me. Well, you dumbasses, maybe you should have taken the sanctity of marriage a little bit more seriously, okay? Stop making excuses. And that's a good part about America. That's probably one of the most prevalent phenomena of America, not blaming themselves. You notice that? Most Americans don't want to blame themselves for jack. I mean, they don't want to blame themselves for anything. They want to blame somebody else for their problems, their misfortunes, and that sort of thing, when in actuality, it's their own ignorance. And this is why my slogan, folks, my personal slogan is, the American public sucks. Because it does, folks. All right? And I know that maybe you're taking a little bit of offense to this because, oh, my God, I'm a part of the American public. Hey, a group is defined by its majority, folks, and the majority of Americans are a bunch of idiots, okay? They're a bunch of morons out here, and you don't have to be an articulate intellectual not to be a complete and utter moron. All you have to do is have a little bit of common sense and the motivation and the ability to obtain knowledge. I mean, that's basically what separates morons from non-morons. But America is dominated with idiots out here, folks. All right? And you see, when most Americans hear me call them a bunch of buffooneries, oh, the first reaction is, oh, Ghost, F you, and all kinds of personal attacks and vulgarities and other such nonsense, instead of actually thinking critically on why I think America is a bunch of morons. I mean, it's all reactionary, folks. And we have to understand why we're a bunch of morons out here, because we are. We are, folks. I mean, you just take a look at the social landscape out here. That'll give you a good whiff on why we're a bunch of idiots. We are, folks. Well, let's just step away a little bit from the moral aspects of everything, okay? Let's just step away from the social landscape of things, even though it's hard to do, and I don't like to do it. I mean, let me tell you something. Our country is directly affected by the social landscape. Well, let's just go ahead and drop that, okay? Let's take a look at the presidential races out here. And what do we have? We have the same crap, different plate, no matter what side of the political persuasion you happen to be sitting on, folks. It really doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat anymore. It's the same thing. Both of these parties want more government bureaucracy, more government in our faces. They want to raise our taxes. They want to blame us for this ridiculous phenomenon of global warming. They want to do everything, folks. They just want to tax, put government in our faces and down our throats. And if you don't believe me, you just take a look at the legislation or the proposed legislation by both sides of the political spectrum, and they are eerily similar. The only thing that separates Republicans from Democrats is that John Turncoat McCain out here, who is a blatant liberal, unapologetic liberal, he wants to prolong this war not only into Iraq and Afghanistan, but into Iran, into Syria, into Pakistan. And you see, how are we doing this? You see, I'm not against the war, folks. I wasn't against the war in Iraq. I wasn't against the war in Afghanistan. I understand that we're at war with a battle of ideology out here. I understand that this part of the world has been subjugated by religious theocracy. They have been told at this part of the world that they are going to get some sort of religious significance if they kill as many Westerners as possible in the afterlife. But you see, folks, how are we as American folks, as American people, as an American country, going to sit here and try to implement democracy in parts of the world that are dominated by Islamic theocracy? How are we going to continue to do that into Iran and Syria and Pakistan when you've got John Turncoat McCain ruining democracy right here in America? And you see, I have asked that question to everybody, including these ridiculous Republicans that have turned a blind eye to their own principles. I have asked these people and have yet to get an answer. And I'm not going to get an answer. You want to know why I'm not going to get an answer? Because all these Republicans, specifically on the Blog Talk Radio Network, are nothing but a bunch of morons. I mean, before this show began, I was patronizing a couple of shows and came across some ditzy bimbo show. And what was she doing? What was she talking about? She was interviewing some ridiculous political satirist. Like, we're in the part of time in history for us to be wasting time on such collateral matters, but that's the whole objective out here. You know, don't let your conscience be swayed by collateral matters, folks. We need to start talking about matters that are going to affect America. And that's why I come up on here on a consistent basis, screaming my damn head off, because nobody is talking about these subject matters. And you can take a look at these ridiculous excuses for talk shows on the Blog Talk Radio Network, and I don't care what side of the persuasion they're on. You take a look at both of them, whether it's people on the left, people on the right, all these people, and look, I don't mean to generalize all of them. I'm going to say most of the people here on the Blog Talk Radio Network in the political section are a bunch of egomaniacs. They are, and you know it, and I know it, and if you happen to be a host that, you know, plasters your name and your ugly mug all over the place and has a blog and puts your name on a website and all this nonsense, you're an egotistical prick, okay? I mean, if your word was that important, if your political perspective was that important, why aren't you going out and running for office then? Because you're an idiot, that's why. And you see, folks, if you happen to patronize any of these nimrods out here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, and they happen to be, you know, spreading their full names everywhere, showing their ugly mugs, and let me tell you something, folks, I don't mean to be making fun of people's physical attributes, but the majority of the people here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, they claim to be some sort of political analyst or some sort of a political, figurehead out here, or trying to spread their views via their mugs, their ugly faces, and their names. These people are ugly people. They're fat, disgusting pieces of trash. All right, and I don't mean to burst anybody's bubble out here. All right, I know there's a lot of people that like to take themselves way too seriously, but you need to wake up, you jerk asses. All right, you need to wake up and smell the coffee. Your word means diddly. You want to know why your word means diddly? Because you're not talking about nothing. That's why your word means diddly. And you know who I'm talking about, folks. All right, if you're listening to this and you have a show and you say absolutely nothing about problems that affect America, then you're exactly what I'm talking about. You know what you need to do? You need to throw yourself out of a damn window because you're not doing nothing for America. And these people that are out here on the Blog Talk Radio Network that aren't discussing anything, and you know who I'm talking about, they interview these nimrods that got books that mean absolutely nothing. They sit here and they make commentary about collateral scholastic stuff. And the bottom line is, folks, is that it doesn't affect either one of us. Now, what does affect America? Well, you know what I've been talking about. The things that affect America are the American economy out here. All right, and let's talk about it. You know, the stocks are tumbling right now, folks. I'm looking at the stock market right now. They are tumbling here on a Thursday afternoon. And here we have the American dollar, like I've been suggesting here for the past month. It has hit an all-time low. That's right, folks. Our American dollar has hit an all-time low. And, of course, nobody in this ridiculous excuse of Blog Talk Radio Network is talking about our American dollar hitting an all-time low. And another thing that's affecting us, folks, these damn oil prices. Haven't you noticed that nobody is talking about the rise in oil prices? And it doesn't make you sick, folks, that you sit here and you watch these pig-headed pieces of trash in the media. You know, and I don't care what face it is. I don't care what name it is. I don't care what broadcast network it is. They're all a bunch of crap, all right? They should all be flushed down the proverbial toilet, all right? But I hate when I watch the mainstream media, and the only reason I watch it, folks, is for theatrical purposes, because I, for one, do not watch the mainstream media for my information or news gathering, and anybody who does is an intellectually lazy, fat, jelly-ass bastard, with all due respect. In this day and age of the Internet, when you have a billion libraries at your fingertips and all you do is sit on the couch and watch the boob tube for your information and your news, you're lazy, period. But I find it sick that whenever I decide to patronize the mainstream media for theatrical purposes, I am so disgusted, specifically here in the past 2 weeks, that these news anchors, these ridiculous excuses for gatekeepers of media, they talk about the rise in oil prices like it's no big deal. You know, I mean, I heard one moron today on the Communist News Network sit here and say, oil prices at an all-time high, get ready to pay, like if he was being comical about it. I mean, what is the absolute raising in oil prices comical? How is that comical, you news anchor and piece of crap? It's not comical, folks. And you see, nobody in Blog Talk Radio is talking about any of these subject matters. Nobody's talking about the dying dollar. Folks, we hit an all-time low in the American dollar right here. Our dollar is almost not even worth the paper it's printed on. And you see, of course, none of these idiots in the Blog Talk Radio Network are talking about it, Republican or Democrat. These idiots are too busy, sticking a Kentucky Fried Chicken grease thumb up their anal passages because they're practicing how hard they're going to get done up the tailpipe by this country. It's ridiculous, folks. I'm surprised there's nobody out here in the Blog Talk Radio Network, folks, and I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're laying on. Okay? The bottom line is, folks, we're American first and foremost. I love America. I love the American Constitution. I mean, this was a country at one point in time, folks. Not anymore, okay? Not anymore. This was a country at one point in time when you could be born into absolute poverty, absolute filth, with absolutely nothing. And with work, hard work, motivation, determination, you can make something out of yourself in this life. But you see, folks, you can't do that anymore. Anybody who has been born around this particular time in history, I feel sorry for them. Because if they're born in poverty, I'm telling you right now, the percentages are so high that they're going to stay in poverty for the rest of their life. The American dream is gone, folks. And, of course, none of these stupid candidates running for president are talking about it. None of these ridiculous senators are talking about it. None of the congressmen are talking about it. And, of course, none of these idiots on the Blog Talk Radio Network, no matter what side of the political persuasion you try to hear on here, none of these people are talking about this crap either. They're talking about ridiculous collateral matters that are trying to deviate the America's conscience from the actual subject matters that affect you and me as Americans at hand. The economy, stupid. I mean, wasn't it that ridiculous, moron that was the previous president that turned the Oval Office into the Oral Office? Remember that guy? His wife is running for president right now. Well, wasn't he the one that coined that phrase, or James Carville, or one of those idiots that was his minions? Wasn't he the one that stated, it's the economy, stupid? And you see, folks, the reason nobody knows about the economy is because everybody's an idiot. Okay? Everybody's a moron. And, of course, I've got somebody here named Kate Dosher here in my chat room saying, oh, you're just yelling. You're just yelling. Well, you know what you're doing? You're sitting on your fat jelly ass while this country is crippling from the inside out, and you're not doing a damn thing about it. You're not doing a damn thing about it. Are you participating in this political field? Are you participating in your democracy? Are you utilizing the unalienable rights given to you by our forefathers? No. No, you're not. You're just sitting there flapping your fat fingers on the keyboard trying to insult somebody who actually has passion for this country, who still loves this country, who loves the American Constitution. And apparently you don't, ma'am. Apparently you're probably one of these people on the left with so much optimism. All right? You have so much optimism. Oh, and you see these people on the left. All right? And I'm not saying the Republicans are that much better either. Believe me, the Republicans are just as leftist as the idiots on the Democrat side. Okay? But the bottom line is, folks, is that this country is falling down the tubes. There's nothing anybody's doing about it. Nobody's talking about these subject matters. All anybody's doing, I mean, you look at the mainstream media, what are they talking about? They're talking about the latest animal on Paris Hilton's crotch. That's what people are talking about out here. This is it. This is it. This is all we're talking about out here. Nobody's talking about the economic doom that is about to impend us here. And let me tell you something, folks. I've been prognosticating here on the Blog Talk Radio Network for a decent amount of time. And everything that I have said, and you can look back in the archive, you can date it, you can verify it, folks. I have prognosticated things that have come to pass, folks. And the reason I have prognosticated things that have come to pass, because it doesn't take a brain scientist to understand the landscape we're dealing with out here. All right? And the landscape we're dealing with out here is an economic landscape that's intending to erode from the inside out. I mean, folks, I don't know if you have read the latest news, but our dollar has hit an all-time low. Hit an all-time low. And of course, you know, a lot of you nimrods out there that are too busy shoveling food down your gullet like a damn garbage disposal, you probably don't even understand what that means. And the reason you don't understand what that means is because you're dumber than a doorknob. Okay? But the bottom line is, folks, is that you have high-end retail stores here in America, right in New York City. They're no longer accepting American money. Can you believe that? They're no longer accepting the American dollar in high-end retail stores in America. They're accepting euro dollars. And you see, here you got Kate Dosher over here who's flapping her fat Cheeto-stained fingers on the keyboard at me. And, of course, she left the room. But this is what I'm talking about, folks. This is the mentality I'm talking about. You people out in America are idiots because you don't understand what's happening all around you here. And you see, like a bunch of morons, whenever this stupid media says, oh, well, we hit an all-time high in oil prices, looks like y'all are going to have to pay. What do you idiots do? You just pay. That's all you do. You don't even question. You don't even call your congressman. You don't call your senator. You don't say anything. You just continue paying like a moron. That's what you do. Because you're idiots, folks. You need to put the freaking fork down for about 5 minutes and maybe pick up something and read something, learn something. And you see, folks, I just don't understand what's wrong with America. And you see, this is what is just completely ripping up my optimism when it comes to the American people. You know, I hate to hear these politicians that try to say, oh, you know, the American people is better than that. They know better than that. They understand better than that. No, they don't, folks. The American public doesn't understand garbage. All right? They barely understand the fine print when they sign off for a subprime mortgage. All right? They barely understand the fine print when they're signing their life away to a ridiculous automobile. And you're expecting the American public to understand this bureaucracy of government. You're an idiot. Just like everybody out here in America is a bunch of morons. All of you. All of you people. And it's sad, folks. It's really sad that here we have a bunch of people that, you know, that they're completely oblivious in what's happening here in America. I mean, just as long as they're shoveling food down their gullets, they don't care. They don't care about the impending, economic dangers that's happening out here. They don't care that America doesn't produce anything as a country anymore. They don't care. Because America are dumb, man. The American general public sucks. Okay? And there's nobody that's going to make me think that otherwise, because you're idiots, okay? I mean, look at Kate Dosher. I'm glad you came back in the room there, Katie, because all you were doing, you're not providing any substance. If you think I'm wrong about something, well, flap your fat Cheeto-stained fingers on the keyboard and provide some substance where I'm wrong. Don't just sit here and ridicule me like a typical fat jelly-ass American with no substance or any type of intellectual curiosity, for Christ's sake. Provide some substance on the debating table. But you're not going to. I mean, how are you going to debate, Katie? How are you going to debate the fact that our dollar is at an all-time low? How are you going to debate that? How are you going to debate that the cost of living is getting higher, all right, and the cost of labor is getting lower? How are you going to debate that? How are you going to debate the fact that America doesn't produce anything as an economic force anymore? The only thing America produces is entertainment and cheeseburgers. That's it. That's it. You can't debate these subject matters. And all I'm saying, whether you agree with the way I'm saying them, how loud I'm saying them, or what I'm saying, you need to start discussing these subject matters with your family, with your friends, with your acquaintances, with anybody that'll listen to you. All right? Because if you don't, folks, hey, I've prognosticated this already, but I'm going to say it to you again. By next Christmas, folks, it's all coming down. It is all going to come down crashing on all of us. And if you don't believe me, why don't you read a little bit about economics? I'm a businessman, folks, okay? I could be like all these other American idiots out here, not worrying about the country just as long as I'm okay. Hey, if the country isn't okay, business folks like myself aren't okay. All right? And you see, that's what most of you idiots in America need to understand. You need to take your head out of your clogged up colon pipes, and you need to understand that we are headed for disaster, folks, and nobody is talking about it. Nobody. Why? Why is nobody in the mainstream media talking about the impending economic danger that is going to happen here within the next 6-7 months? How come? Well, because, folks, the mainstream media is a corporately ran entity. Okay? What does that mean? That means they get paid money for as long as they keep your eyes glued to their channel. Now, what are they going to do to keep your eyes glued to the channel? You think that they're going to give you information that's the truth, that may hurt your feelings, that may get you a little scared, that may get you a little, I don't know, unoptimistic? No, they're not going to tell you real news, real information. They're going to tell you, oh, well, today Britney Spears shaved her noggin. Oh, today Paris Hilton has got a monkey on her crotch. Tomorrow it'll be a chihuahua. Oh, well, today Lindsay Lohan sniffed 3 lines of cocaine off of somebody's ass. I mean, this is what our mainstream media is telling us, folks. And they're not telling us what's happening here in America. And this is what concerns me, folks. This is what concerns me, and it should concern you, for Christ's sake. And, of course, it doesn't. It doesn't affect anybody out here. You notice, and I challenge you, folks, look at all these idiots out here, all of them, all these morons in the Blog Talk Radio Network in the blogosphere, on the internet, that are trying to become some sort of political commentators out here. What are they doing? They're putting their names up real prominent, their full names. They're putting their ugly faces. They're giving you frontal shots of their ugly mugs. Why? Because these idiots actually think that what they have to say has any kind of credence to the American people, when it doesn't. All these people are doing are saying nothing but talking points that have absolutely nothing to do with American people. And that's what I care about, folks. Even though I'm sitting here calling the American people out for the ignorant pieces of buffoonery trash that they are, I care about the American people. I love America. I love the American Constitution. I don't know about you, but I do. And that's why I'm screaming. That's why you hear passion every time I get up on this broadcast and try to relay some information, try to provide some commentary out here. I'm not talking out of my derriere, okay? I say what I mean what I say. And I guarantee you, folks, you're not going to hear anybody that is as genuine as I am, especially on this ridiculous Blog Talk Radio network. You're not going to do it. You want to know why? Because these idiots are more worried about getting coin in their pocket. You see, folks, I don't care about the monetary value of this broadcast. I could care less. I care more about what in the blue hell happens to our future as America. That's what I care about more. But, of course, most of you American people could give a crap about it. You're too worried about shoveling food down your gullet. You're more worried about getting the latest jeans and purses and, let me get the $3,000-$4,000 plasma screen TV, even though I can't afford it. I mean, this is what you people are worried about. You need to get your heads out of your clogged up asses, folks. And I know that I may be a little brazen for you folks out there. You may cringe at some of the words and some of the language I use, but gosh darn it, we're going to have to get back to some straight talk. We can't keep thinking that, all of a sudden this American dream of ours is going to continue going without us participating in the damn thing. The whole concept of our American Constitution was the American people were supposed to maintain control of their government, and they have it. They have it, folks. The American people aren't participating in their government. And you take a look at the Democratic race, and that's a good example of what I'm talking about. You take a look, all right? You take a look at how all these Democrats out here, and it's just sad. It's just sad. Just take a look at why they're voting. You think they're voting because of the economy, this impending economic doom? No. Are they voting on the fact that, we're accumulating so much debt that's devaluing our American dollar? No. Are they voting on the fact that we've got 20 million illegal immigrants in this country that are devaluing the cost of labor? No. Are they voting on the fact that we have sent the means of production outside of the United States into communist countries like China and the third world nations like Mexico and other such nations? No, none of these people are voting on subject matters that pertain to America. No, I had a lady call in saying she's voting for Barack Obama because he's got nice teeth. I mean, that's the equivalent of what you're seeing out here on the Democrat side, folks. All right? People are voting for ridiculous reasons, the most stupidest reasons ever. And people need to take their heads out of their clogged up asses, and they need to start understanding that, hey, America is a lot more than some idiot having nice teeth. All right? The American presidency is a lot more than somebody being a woman, okay? The American presidency is a lot more than some wannabe maverick out here who's going to extend the war into Iran, into Syria, into Pakistan, while at the same time take away rights right here in America. And you see, folks, nobody's talking about these subject matters. This is a sad time to be an American, especially an American with common sense. It's a sad time to be an American. As a matter of fact, I'm very much considering leaving the damn country. All right, I'm going to see what happens after this election, and I'm going to see if this impending economic doom comes to pass, because let me tell you something, folks. It's coming to pass. All right? It is coming to pass. And you see, this is what I'm talking about, folks. We need to start forcing these public servants. Because remember, folks, Just because these people are running for office, they are public servants. All right? These people are not better than us. They're not any different than we are. They bleed red. Okay? These people are mortal. These people do what we're supposed to tell them to do. Okay? But we're not telling them to do anything. On the contrary, these leaders are telling us what to do, and that's not what it is. Wait a minute. Maybe you need to reread your Constitution. All right? This government was meant for the people, by the people, but when you got an ignorant and populace that doesn't understand the bureaucratic government that is our American system, well, that's why we have such a skewed American government. That's why our government is being catered to by those who can influence it. And who can influence it? Multinational corporations, imbeciles that have, certain agendas at hand, lobbyists, that sort of thing. But you see, folks, we have empirical evidence that if the American general populace gets riled up, all right, if they get infuriated by an issue or by an idea, that the government will crack, folks. I mean, the civil rights movement is just the latest in empirical evidence that shows that this government will crack under general American populist pressure. Okay? I mean, the Civil Rights Act was signed into law by Lyndon Baines Johnson. Lyndon Baines Johnson was a historical racist. Anybody who tries to dispute it obviously doesn't know their history. But he was a historical racist. Why did he sign the Civil Rights Act? Because the American public demanded it. That's why, folks. And you see, this is why it is very important that the American general public participate in their political system. But they're not doing it. You see, most people are more worried about, getting the latest plasma screen TV, right? Going out and getting the $50,000 car, the $300,000 house. Everybody's more worried about the accumulation of materialistic widgets than actually caring about the freedoms that created this society. And this is what's sad. This is what's sad. This is why I scream. This is why I'm angry. This is why I talk with passion and fury, because this is what the this is the culmination of our society at this point, of our modern-day society. And, of course, folks, nobody is talking about any of this crap. Nobody. And I wish they were, folks, because, we have to start talking about these subject matters, okay? Mainstream media is not going to talk about it. And it's obvious that these imbeciles on the Blog Talk Radio Network, and let me tell you something, there's a few people I listen to on here, but for the most part, everybody on Blog Talk Radio Network, and I hate to say this, because I understand that this company here, Blog Talk Radio, I understand that they were trying to come up with some revolutionary concept, citizen broadband networking and citizen broadcasting and all this nonsense. But, just take a look at some of the shows on this network, and it's just sad. It's just disgusting on here. Especially in the political section. It's just a lot of egos, okay? A lot of moronic egos out here. You got a lot of people putting their ugly faces, like we want to see them, all right? If your face was pretty enough to see, you'd be on the television, okay? All right, if your face was pretty enough to see, we'd see you in magazines, all right? We don't want to see your ugly mug. And they plaster their full names all over the place, like, oh, look at me. I'm the greatest commentator of all time. Well, if you were a decent commentator, well, then maybe you'd be talking about subject matters that pertain to American people and not, thinking that you're going to make yourself some sort of monetary gain by getting on the internet and talking out of your blowhole. And that's what most of these people think. That's why they all have blogs. That's why all these idiots have websites. That's why all these idiots are on here talking all this nonsense, nothing but talking points. That's why, folks, because these people are morons, and it shames me. It really does. Every time I patronize every one of these shows on the Blog Talk Radio Network, it shames me. Because this is the public. And take a good look at it, folks. You go on and listen to anybody's show. I don't care whose show it is. All right, the majority of them are a bunch of morons. These people would probably drown a fish. They are so stupid. All right? I'm not joking, folks. I don't mean to be facetious about this. I am serious. I wish that more people, all right, and like I said, you don't have to be some brilliant, articulate Rhodes Scholar not to be an ignorant bastard around here. Okay, but all I'm saying is let's start talking about things that affect America. I mean, is that hard or what? Anyway, folks, 646-652-4869 is the number to call out here. And you see, folks, it just sickens me, man. I mean, that's why I'm so upset. That's why I scream so much. Because nobody is listening. I mean, everybody's more worried about, accumulating materialistic widgets, feeding their fat jelly asses, okay? Going out, trying to keep up with the Joneses. All right? They're living this ridiculous nonsense reality, okay? And let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with making money, okay? There's nothing wrong with making money, but to morally bankrupt yourself and to completely turn a blind eye to the governing body that controls your everyday life, that's just stupid. That's just stupid, and that's just ignorant, folks. Okay? And that's all there is to it. That's why I'm not voting for any of these people for president. Any of them. I may just write in Mickey Mouse or some crap, because this is a Mickey Mouse presidential election. I mean, what do you have? You've got two idiots on the left over here, Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Rotten Clinton. Both of these people, I mean, if you took their speeches and compared them with Hugo Chavez or Fidel Castro, it's a carbon copy, okay? So that just goes to show you where they're coming from. And then you got John Turncoat McCain out here. You got John Turncoat McCain that, he's basically two issues away from being a full-blown liberal. And what are those two issues? Well, the first issue, he claims to be pro-life, which I think that's a bunch of crap. And the other issue is the fact is that he's a maverick, right? He's a maverick. He wants to go out and, extend the war. He wants to, keep us out there for 100 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. He wants to send us into Iran. He wants to put us in Syria. All right? I mean, I'm not completely against that, but how are you going to do that, McCain, when you are taking away democracy right here in America? And if you look at the man's legislation, folks, John McCain wiped his ass with the First Amendment with McCain-Feingold, okay? You take a look at his legislation, folks, this man is a liberal piece of Marxist trash. And I have stated that ever since the beginning of this primary. And that's why the name of the show, the name of the show used to be called True Conservative Republican Radio. But I've dropped the Republican out of my name, folks, because, well, I'm not going to sit here and oblige myself to a ridiculous party that is going to turn a blind eye to its principles and is going to embrace this liberal garbage. I refuse to do it. If you want to do it, that is your problem. That is your fault. You go ahead and turn against your principles, folks, but I'm not going to do it. And that's why I know for a fact that I'm a true conservative. I stick by my principles, and I know that no matter what, no matter how much ridicule I take, no matter how many personal attacks are thrown at me, no matter what happens, I know that I've got probably a higher grade of moral integrity. I have a higher grade of maintaining my principles than any of these idiots out here in the Republican Party that are turning a blind eye to the principles and voting for John Turncoat McCain. And that's all there is to it, folks. That is all there is to it. And you can sit here and try to deny it all you want to, and believe me, they do. I mean, these Republicans, especially on the Blog Talk Radio Network, and let me tell you, for the most part, I take a dirty, yellow, bubbly piss on every one of these Blog Talk Radio supposed Republican hosts out here. And all they can do is look back at me with a yellow smile about it because they know I'm telling the damn truth. And that's all there is to it. And I'm sick of it, folks. I'm really sick of it. I'm surprised you're not sick of it. I mean, do you care about America? I mean, ask yourself this, folks. Do you give a crap about America? Do you care about where we go in the future? Because it doesn't seem like it. And I challenge you, listen to these idiots, man. And you can tell them I said they're fake. All of them. All of them. You can tell them all I said that. All these Blog Talk Radio hosts out here. They're a bunch of morons. Especially the supposed political idiots out here. One in particular, and I know that he's the sacred cow or the supposed political director of this Blog Talk Radio Network, but this idiot Ed Morrissey, and I know I give him a lot of flack, and I'm sorry, Ed, if you can't take the heat, but if you're going to be sitting here being a public figure, you better take the ridicule. And let me tell you something, sir. I don't like you. And the reason I don't like you, Ed Morrissey, because I can see the liberal right through your body. Right through that fat jelly-ass body of yours, sir. And I know that you're not a true Republican conservative. I know it. I can see it. All right? I mean, I can see right through the talking points that you spew off on your program. All right? And it sickens me that you have so many people mesmerized by your rhetoric. And it's just amazing to me. It just goes to show you how stupid America has become. When this moron becomes the mouthpiece of the Republican Party, it's sickening to me. It really is sickening. I mean, and look, folks, I love America. I love the American Constitution. I'm a true conservative. But, I mean, it really pains me that none of these supposed Republicans out here are talking about subject matters that pertain to the American people. And it makes my heart weak that I'm the only man hooping and hollering about the moral bankruptcy of America, about the collapse of the American economy, about all these subject matters that are going to affect us as American people. I'm the only one talking about these subject matters, folks. And, I mean, I don't know whether I should continue to talk about them, continue not to talk about them. I don't know. I'm thinking about giving it all up. I'm thinking about changing the damn format of my show, to be honest with you. I mean, just between you and me, I'm thinking about going non-political because, you idiots, obviously, politics has gone over your head. And it's obvious that you morons are going to vote for people because they have nice teeth or because they're women or because they're mavericks or they're old farts or whatever the case might be. You are voting for people completely for the wrong reasons. And you should all be ashamed of yourselves, all of you. All of you, folks. And I don't care who you are. If you are not helping the situation by discussing issues that affect America, you're an asshole, with all due respect, folks. Sorry for the French, but you're an asshole, okay? And that goes to all the Blog Talk Radio hosts, all the people in the blogosphere, everybody. I hate all you people. And the reason I hate all you people is because you are helping the erosion of America. All right? Ed Morrissey, all right? And people of the like, if you will. I mean, you people are stupid, man. You make me sick. You make me sick because you do nothing for America. All right? And you disgust me. Honestly, you really do disgust me. And, I know that the Blog Talk Radio, I'm sure they don't appreciate me talking about their boy. I'm sure they don't appreciate me talking about a good old Ed Morrissey over there, but, hey, the bottom line is, Blog Talk Radio Network, I mean, if you were going to make somebody a political director, you should have made somebody with some sort of substance out here, or at least held some sort of office, or has some sort of experience in politics in general. All right, folks, I mean, come on. You're not helping the situation either there, Blog Talk Radio. All right, I mean, look, I appreciate that you erected this forum for the average, everyday American schmo to say whatever it is they want to say on their mind. And I commend you all for that. I think it's a great technology. But to sit here and allow Ed Morrissey, this fat piece of wannabe Republican trash, who's an obvious, blatant, unapologetic liberal, just read behind his rhetoric, you should be ashamed of yourself. I mean, honestly, you should be ashamed of yourself. And like I said, Mr. Morrissey, if you can't take the heat, I challenge you to come on my show, or I will go on your show, all right? And I'll call you out, all right? Not only will I call you out, I will put you in your place, Mr. Ed Morrissey. I will make you look like a mental midget, all right? I will cut you down lower than a leprechaun's nutsack, and I'll do it with the facts, all right? I'll do it with the facts. And let me tell you something, folks. If you happen to listen to Ed Morrissey's program, which is on, I think, in an hour from now, you tell him I said that. You tell that fat piece of cottage cheese ass crap that I said that. Because I'm a conservative, folks, okay? And I voted Republican all my life until this election. When this election came about, and when I started seeing mouthpieces like Ed Morrissey and others, okay, trying to isolate true conservatives during the primaries, like Fred Thompson, Duncan Hunter, these true conservatives out here, they were isolating them. I knew for a fact that we were seeing a transition from what we knew of as the Republican Party that was rooted in conservative principles. We are now seeing that transition into something that's liberal. It's liberal, folks. You know it, and I know it, and if you don't know it, well, then maybe you need to throw yourself out the damn window, all right? If you're one of these idiots that doesn't understand what is going on here in America, maybe, with all due respect, maybe you need to drink a gallon of bleach, okay? Maybe you need to drink a gallon of bleach. Maybe you need to just get yourself out of the situation and let those who actually care about this country step forward and try to help ourselves, okay? We don't need any more ignorant bastards to spread the infection of ignorance. Because let me tell you something, folks. To me, in my opinion, ignorance is the most dangerous thing in our American society. Ignorance. And what's an ignorant bastard? Well, like I've stated, folks, and I'm sure you know, I'm sure you've been in social arenas, social settings when you're having conversation with folks, and they sit here and spew off nonsense about subject matters they know nothing about. You've come across these people, right? I mean, people that have opinions about stuff they know nothing about, and yet they'll go on and on. Even in a group setting, they'll go on and on as if they're an expert at the crap. These are ignorant bastards, folks. This is what I'm talking about. This is the epitome of ignorance. And we need to stop it, folks. And how do we stop it? Well, if you know better, okay, and you know if you're intelligent, all right, the bottom line is you know you're intelligent. Some people think they're intelligent, and they're ignorant pieces of trash that'll probably take them an hour to cook minute rice. But people that are truly intelligent, people that are not ignorant, you know who you are, okay? Bottom line, you do know who you are. If you're in a public setting and you hear some moron basically regurgitating an opinion that he knows or she knows absolutely nothing about, well, call them out on that subject matter, folks. Call them out. Even if you cut them down lower than a leprechaun's nutsack, just like I've done with Ed Morrissey on this program, you need to call these people out because we can no longer accept people going around thinking they know about subject matters that they know nothing about. You want to know why people always talk garbage, especially in social settings? They try to talk as if they're knowledgeable about subject matters, even though you know they're a bunch of horse crap. Because people are lazy, folks. The average American is lazy. They'll put more effort into making themselves a triple cheeseburger than they would in actually picking up a piece of reading material and learning something. I mean, just go out there and ask somebody to read something, all right? Just as a favor. Just say, hey, man, can you read this for me? I mean, it's like you farted on their best suit. You know, they're not going to do it. They're not going to want to do it. Why? Because we're ignorant bastards, folks. The American general public is ignorant, and it sucks. The public sucks. The American public sucks. Say it with me, folks. The American public sucks. Pass it on. Pass it on. Because it does, folks. It does. And why does it suck? Well, because nobody is talking about subject matters that affect us as Americans. And I don't even know why I come up here anymore. I really don't, folks. Because I don't know if you patronize all these other ridiculous shows in the Blog Talk Radio Network, but I'm ridiculed on a consistent basis. Because I ain't siding with one side or the other. I'm not siding with the left because, first of all, I hate the left. I hate communism. I hate socialism, and that's all the left represents. And you take a look at the right at this point, which I was a lifelong Republican, but you take a look at the right of the persuasion, I mean, it's no different. John McCain has made it abundantly clear that he could care less about the conservative movement. Okay? He's made it abundantly clear that he's not an old-school Republican. And what is an old school Republican? I'm talking about less government bureaucracy, less government in our faces, less taxes. And you see, folks, this is why I am such a mad individual when it comes to the political spectrum of modern-day American society. Because there is no difference, man. Don't you understand this? And none of these candidates are talking about anything that affect us, man. And I don't understand why nobody else is mad about it. Why is there nobody else mad about it? I mean, don't you understand that this economic situation we're in is almost at a point of no return? I mean, don't you understand that? Why don't you read about the Great Depression, okay? Read about the Great Depression and understand that at least in the Depression, we were still producing products as an American economy. We were producing planes. We were producing automobiles. We were producing all kinds of products for the international community out here. But unfortunately, folks, we're not doing that anymore, man. And I don't understand why nobody is utilizing these venues like the blogosphere, like Blog Talk Radio Network, like internet radio, like internet TV shows, like video blogging, and all this garbage. How come they're not utilizing these venues to relay information to the idiot American people? Even if you have to use up pop-up book methods, because believe me, I know that the general American populace are morons. Okay, like I said, I mean, I bet you most of the general American public would probably try to drown a fish, folks. Okay? And that's the truth. I don't understand why nobody else is relaying these subject matters. We live in the day and age of the internet, okay? And yet nobody's talking about the subject matters that affect us here as Americans. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. It doesn't matter. Okay? It's not about Democrat or Republican anymore, damn it. It's about America. It's about American sovereignty. It's about the American Constitution. It's about the American economy. That's what I care about. I don't know about you, but that's what I care about. And, I mean, can somebody please answer me? Somebody please. I mean, because I'm driving myself mad out here. Because, look, I have a wife, you know, and she listens to me from afar, if you would. She's not very happy with the fact that I scream and, you know, talk all this garbage on a consistent basis, but because she feels that, well, you know what, Ghost, you're making money. You're a businessman. Why should you care about what's wrong with everybody else in America? And what most people don't understand is that the only reason I'm a businessman is because people are making money to spend at my business. And if nobody is making money out here, well, that's going to put me out of business. It's going to put all other business owners out of business. That's why I take such an effort and make such an effort to get on here and attempt to facilitate debate and discourse about subject matters that obviously is above everybody's heads. It's obvious. I mean, you know, folks, that we have set unprecedented economic history. Within the past couple of years, folks, we are consuming more than we produce. And I know that there's a lot of Nimrodic buffooneries in America that have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you're within the sound of my voice, well, then you can Google the damn thing or use any damn search engine you utilize to understand what I'm talking about. It's an unprecedented economic situation that we're doing here. We're consuming more than we produce. And like I said, if you look back at the Great Depression, folks, we were producing during the Great Depression. The only reason we're not in a depression right now is because of our ignorant faith in this almighty dollar. You know, the dollar, and I've stated this earlier in the show, it's hit an all-time low. All-time low. I mean, the dollar has been around for a long time, folks. I know many of you idiots probably don't understand that, but it's been around for a long time, and it's at an all-time low. And are we talking about that? No, nobody's talking about it. The mainstream media is just barely giving it about maybe 3-4 seconds worth of airtime. Whenever they go to the market wrap. Haven't you noticed that? Whenever they go to the market wrap, they're like, oh, well, the dollar hit a new low, but stocks are up. I mean, haven't you noticed that? Like, sit here and say, oh, well, you know, the dollar's at a whole new low. We're about to use our modern American dollars for toilet paper, but, oh, look who the Dow Jones Industrials are up. Folks, don't be stupid, okay? The Dow Jones Industrial are 36 conglomerate companies, okay? 36. And I bet you a lot of you Nimrods didn't know that either. 30-some-odd big, humongous, conglomerate, multinational corporations, okay? And it's really foolish to look at the Dow Jones Industrials and claim that the economy is doing bad or good based on their performance. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, let's get real here, all right? Let's get some, like that prostate-infected piece of trash John McCain says. Let's get some straight talk out here. I mean, let's get some straight talk. Just because the Dow Jones Industrials went up about 300 points yesterday doesn't mean our economy is doing diddly. It means that those multinational corporations that have interest not only in America, but in China, in Europe, in wherever in the blue hell there's a market, they've got a market. And just because they go up doesn't mean the American economy is going up. So most people don't understand out here. And I don't understand why nobody talks about these subject matters. Can somebody please give me a call and tell me why? Please, somebody. Right now, 646-652-4869 is the number to call. I want to know why nobody else talks about this crap. I don't understand. I mean, I want to continue America, folks. I don't know about you, okay? And look, and I hate... Let me lay down for a second. I'm laying down here on my couch. This is my little shrink session with you folks, all right? You're going to be my psychiatrist, my psychologist, whatever. And I'm just going to air out things that bother me, man, because I don't understand why nobody else is talking about these subject matters. I mean, look at the people on the Blog Talk Radio Network. They're more worried about, you know, whether Hillary Rotten is going to win the nomination from Barack Hussein Obama. And, of course, none of these two people are talking about anything, man. I mean, Barack Obama keeps change. I mean, let me tell you something, folks. When it's all said and done and this economy cripples, you're barely going to have change in your pocket. And what's Hillary Rotten Clinton talking about? She's talking about universal health care. Yeah, that's what we need in this day and age. We need to raise taxes right now, right? We're in an economic pitfall out here, and this broad's talking about raising taxes. That's just great. And you know, most of these people out here, even John McCain, but all these people, they're all talking about how they're going to bring jobs to America. How exactly are you going to do that? How are you going to bring jobs back to America? We don't produce anything anymore. And let me tell you something. I urge all of you, call your politicians, man. All right, call them. They work for you, okay? These are your public servants. I know that, you know, they try to make themselves look all high mighty and the knowledgeable ones, you know, they wear nice suits and they wear a little American flag on their lapel, and that makes them look official. But these people are just as mortal as you are. These people are just as smart as you are. Well, maybe not the majority of the American public, but I know there's still some smart people out here, okay? And I'm just begging you, go out there and pick these people's brains. Demand answers from these people. Ask them what they're going to do to bring back jobs to America. You know, and they're not going to, you know what they're going to do? They're going to give you some vague talking point that has really no technicality to it. I mean, that's what they're going to do, and that's what they've been doing. That's what all politicians have been doing. We don't need general talking points anymore. We need facts. We need technicality out here. And why do I keep regurgitating the same thing over and over, folks? Well, folks, I'm telling you, and you may think that I'm just hooping and hollering out here. Look, I have no reason to hoop and holler, okay? I have no interest in generating large sums of revenue on any blog, okay, on any radio show, anything. I know there's a lot of people on this Blog Talk Radio Network and elsewhere that produce blogs, and they produce video blogs and audio blogs. They produce all this crap in hopes of trying to generate money to pay for their drug habits or whatever they do. Basically, they're doing it for monetary gain. I'm not doing it for monetary gain, folks. I can guarantee you this. If I did, I would have made a website by now. All right, if I did, I'd be putting my real name out there. I'm not putting my real name. I want you people to know who I am. All right? I just want you to know the messages that I'm sending across, and I want you to relay those messages, whether you agree or disagree. I'm not telling you to agree with me. This is America. We have the freedom of thought out here. All I'm suggesting is some of the subject matters that I'm bringing up right here on this program, please. And I really beg you, please, talk about these subject matters with everybody you know, your family, your friends, your acquaintances. I mean, if you're in a social setting, just bring it up. Say, what do you think about the low dollar? Huh? What do you think about the dollar hitting its all-time low right now? And I bet you money more than half these idiots or three-quarters of these idiots not going to know what you're talking about. All right, I mean, why don't you talk to people about, well, what are we going to do out here? How are we going to create new jobs when we only produce cheeseburgers and entertainment? I mean, what's that next innovation that's going to create more manufacturing, more jobs, more production? And, of course, I bet you more than three-quarters of the idiots aren't going to know what you're talking about either. But you see, that's how you pay it forward. That's how you get the ball rolling. Because once you approach them with such subject matters, they'll either try to find out about it or ask somebody else to tell them about it. Because, of course, nobody likes to read. I mean, they'll sit there for an hour and a half fixing themselves up a three-patty cheeseburger, but they won't pick up themselves a piece of reading material to learn something. That's the modern-day America, folks. That's the modern-day America we're living in. And that's all I'm suggesting. I just want America back, damn it. Am I wrong for that? I mean, I know I get chastised a lot by a lot of morons on Blog Talk Radio Network. I know there's a lot of people that dedicate whole shows to me on here saying that I'm a bad guy, that, they spread... I don't even want to get into what they talk about me, but I could care less. All right? I mean, I'm not out here to impress people. All right? I'm out here in hopes of trying to provide discourse about subject matters that seem to be scarce in our media system. And you want to know why you're not hearing about any of these subject matters that I discuss on this program, folks? Because it is not in the economic interest of the media to do so. I mean, they know that if they told you the truth about where our country is headed, you'd flip the channel. And if you flip the channel, well, they can't sell advertising. So that's why you don't hear any of these subject matters on the mainstream media, and you're not gonna. You're not gonna. And I wish they would, man. I really wish I would hear some of these commentators talking about it. I just find it funny that, once again, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but the oil prices. I heard some stupid commentator today. I forgot his name. I wish I would have known his name, so I would have chastised him on this program here. But some idiot on the Communist News Network, his lead-in was, oh, oil at an all-time high. Looks like y'all are going to be paying. I mean, that's basically what he said right there. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. I mean, he was chuckling at the fact that we're reaching an all-time high in oil prices, and the general American public is going to have to pay for it. I mean, how can somebody take glee in that? Well, I bet you $1 million or $2 million a year reporter does. Huh? A little broadcaster that gets paid $2 million to sit on their ass and regurgitate something written on a screen. Yeah, of course they'll think it's funny that we're at an all-time high in oil prices, but it's not funny to the regular, everyday American person that not only lost their job to outsourcing because of these imbalanced trade deals signed by these autocrats in Washington, but also you've got a cost of labor. Okay, folks? And I'm telling you, if you're out of a job right now, I know for a fact that it's rough on you. Okay? Because the cost of labor is going down. Why is the cost of labor going down? Because you've got 20 million illegal immigrants that are creating a black market in employment. And they're bringing down the cost of labor, folks. These people will work for 25 cents on the dollar, and how is the American family going to compete with that? How is the average American person going to compete with that? They can't. And you see, nobody's talking about that. You see, nobody is talking about that. They vaguely throw you a curveball about it on the mainstream media, but they don't talk about why this is happening. You notice that they talk about how the cost of living is going higher, but they don't tell you why. They tell you that the cost of labor is going down, but they don't tell you why. I mean, they tell you that there's a lack of jobs in America, but they don't tell you why. Folks, I tell you why. And if you don't believe me, look it up for yourself. That's why I always tell you folks, don't take my word for it. By all means, you are on the internet, use whatever search engine you utilize for your information and news gathering and look it up for yourself. All I want you to do is go out and talk about these subject matters. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm fairly pessimistic about the future. 646-652-4869 is the number to call. And, of course, I've noticed, you know, even when I have my real high rating shows, you know, I never get anybody to call me. You want to know why nobody calls me, folks? Because they know I'm telling the truth. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to debate me about what? They're going to tell me that the cost of living is going down is a good thing? Or, excuse me, the cost of labor going down is a good thing? The rise of living is a good thing? Outsourcing is a good thing? I mean, come on, they're not going to say that. They can't say it. That's why these people that chastise me, these people that spread slanderous lies, personal attacks about me, that's why they do it. They do it on their own shows because that's their own premise, that's their own environment, and there's no way for me to make them look like mental midgets. Because that's what I'll make them look like, folks, mental midgets. Folks, I've got facts that back up my premise. I'm not talking out of my dairy air out here. And that's why I always call out this idiot Ed Morrissey. And like I said, folks, I know that this man, Ed Morrissey, he's the big wig out here. He's the political director. You know, he's the mouthpiece for the Republicans around here. But that's why I'm so critical about this man, because here he's probably got the biggest audience. Well, because Blog Talk Radio shoves them down our throats, but he's probably got the biggest audience listening to him out here. And does he say anything about any of these subject matters that affect you and I? No, he doesn't. Why? Because he's already got his gut pretty fat. I mean, he doesn't look like he hasn't missed a meal in a while. And why? Because, you know, well, he's getting paid. You know, just as long as, you know, payments coming in his mailbox, he doesn't give two rat's asses about you or I. You see, I do. I mean, even though look, I am critical about the American public. I think the American public sucks. The American public is a bunch of ignorant bastards. But the reason I come up on here, folks, and the reason I waste my time in doing these programs is because I hope that this small minor contribution that I attempt to do via this medium, I hope that it relays something to you folks. I'm not telling you to do what I'm doing. I'm not telling you to think how I'm thinking. I'm not telling you to say what I say, folks. I'm telling you to do your own homework. And that's why I'm so brash. That's why I'm so brazen. That's why sometimes, you know, I say things that are a little bit offensive to people. Because I want to light a fire on your ass so you can read something. So you can do something for your country, for the Constitution. And that's why I get I get upset, man. I scream. Believe me, you think, I know at any point I could knock over with a coronary right now. You know that, right? And I'm sure that most of you that listen to me on a consistent basis are probably waiting for that day to happen. But I don't care. I do not care. If I die of a coronary screaming what I believe in, I hope that impacts you so much that you'll go out and read something. That's all I'm asking you to do, read something. It's not that hard. If you're on the internet, you've got billions of libraries at your fingertips. If you learn nothing at all, learn about this bureaucratic system that is your American government, folks. Make these public servants accountable for us as Americans. Make them accountable for us. All right, just because they're out here, you know, in the suits, and they're on podiums, and they give big speeches, that doesn't make them any better than you or I, folks. Don't let them fool you. Do not let them fool you. I mean, all I'm simply saying, folks, is that America is better than this. I know that right now, everybody's pretty stupid. I mean, the majority of America is pretty dumb. And you just take a good whiff of the mainstream media and what it delegates to us as news, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying, folks, we need to get back to America, man. I got to lay down again. I mean, we got to get back to America, folks. I mean, we're morally bankrupt. I mean, the decimation of the American family is in full effect. The social landscape of America is completely backwards. The economic situation in America sucks. The lack of intellectual curiosity in America is only perpetuating our problems. And nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about these subject matters, folks. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what in the blue hell is going on here. I mean, look, I try to have optimism, okay, folks? I know that I'm sitting here, I'm sounding pretty glib. And I hate to utilize the same words as that ridiculous Scientologist Tom Cruise, but hey, it's looking pretty damn glib out here. I mean, it is looking pretty bad, and I don't understand why nobody else is talking about it. And I challenge you folks, if you patronize these shows on the Blog Talk Radio Network, I mean, try to approach these subject matters. I try to patronize a couple of shows on here. I try to go out on the internet and look for internet radio shows, and I try to facilitate these debating subject matters. I try to. But what happens? Well, they'll utilize their power to say, oh, well, you know what? You don't know your ass from your elbow, Ghost. There's more important matters. More important matters? What's more important than our economy? I mean, if our economy goes, that's it, folks. All right? Our military power is garbage. I mean, seriously, if our economy goes, how can we sustain military power if our economic power sucks, folks? Can somebody please answer me that? I mean, of course you can. That's why nobody calls me anymore, folks. That's why nobody calls me up here, because what are they going to do? Are they going to debate that the economy is great? I mean, before, I used to have these idiots like, you know, there's this one moron, Political Vindication, that tries to claim he's a Republican when I can see the liberal all over him. He tried to call me up a few times and say, well, you know what, Ghost? This is just a fluctuation in the market. And you want to know why he said that, folks? Because he's an idiot. I mean, somebody else told him that, so he thought it must be true since whoever told him that. So he regurgitated that to me as if I wasn't going to question that. And when I started questioning him a little further, what happened? He hung up the phone. He hung up the phone, folks. And I don't blame him for hanging up the phone, because how are you going to tell American people, specifically conservatives that listen to my show, real American people that listen to my show, how are you going to tell them that, hey, well, you know, just because you're out of a job, just because you barely have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, everything's okay. Everything's okay because everything's okay with me. No, it's not okay. It's not okay. And that's my point, folks. That's my point. And if you think everything's okay, if you think everything is fine and dandy, please, by all means, 646-652-4869. I mean, please, call me and tell me everything's okay and tell me why, okay? Tell me. I mean, please. I mean, put me in my place. Please, put me in my place. Somebody put me in my place, but I'm not going to do it. Nobody's going to do it. And it's not because I'm some sort of intellectual Rhodes Scholar, folks. I mean, my vocabulary is far from that. But it's just common sense. I mean, it's all it is. This is common sense, folks. I mean, it's not about Democrat or Republican anymore. All right? I mean, can we get that through our thick skulls nowadays? I mean, we got so many people supposedly involved with the political process, especially in the Democrat side. You got all these optimists I mean, haven't you talked to any of these Democrats that think that this is such a great time in American history? Oh, we got a woman running for president, yay! Hey, we got an African-American running for president, yay! That does not equate to optimism, folks, okay? That's not optimism, that's stupidity. All right? And who cares if it's a woman? Who cares if it's an African-American? Who cares if it's an alien, for Christ's sake? Just as long as they are talking about subject matters that pertain to you and I. I'll vote for any of these candidates if they start talking about serious substance, technicality, how they're going to bring jobs in America, how they're going to rectify this crumbling economy, how they're going to solve this debt, how are they going to bring down oil prices. You know, what I find real funny is here we are in Iraq. We basically own the place, okay? And yet gas prices are through the roof here. Gas prices are through the roof, okay? I mean, it's at the highest point ever. We just hit the highest point ever today, and it's going higher. We got the highest gas prices in the world, okay? Now we have the highest oil barrel prices in the world. We have the lowest dollar ever recorded in economic American history. We have no jobs in America anymore. And the only jobs you have out here in America is either in the cheeseburger department or in the entertainment field. Oh, no, strike that. I guess if you want to be a part of the service industry is the dominant industry in America. I mean, when in the blue hell did you ever think, I mean, just think about 20 or 30 years ago, when in the blue hell did you ever think that the service industry was going to be the backbone of the economy? I mean, you would have never have thought. I bet you the people that fought in World War II, that died at Normandy, that went out there and died for our freedoms, I bet you they are turning over in their grave looking at us right now, seeing how stupid we are. I bet you Abraham Lincoln, I bet you all of our forefathers are basically turning over in their graves, throwing up nasty chicken grease and corn oil and cream of wheat because they can't believe how stupid we've become. I mean, here our forefathers gave us unalienable rights not given to man prior to that document. I mean, they gave the government to us, folks, because the forefathers had enough, I don't know why, but they had enough faith in the American people that they would be smart enough, intelligent enough, and non-biased enough to run this country properly. But we're not doing it. That's why I'm so angry. That's why I'm so angry, folks. I mean, there's just nothing else out here for us, folks. I mean, nothing. This country is turning inside out. And like I said, folks, it's not about Republicans or Democrats, man. Please, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, and if you have any kind of common sense, if you have the ability to absorb information and absorb news and gather your own information, I mean, just stop for a minute and just take a look around you. Stop being biased towards a ridiculous party. These parties don't mean anything anymore. They don't stand for anything anymore. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton, look at Barack Obama, compare their speeches to, Fidel Castro or Hugo Chavez. Compare these speeches, and you'll see that it's a damn carbon copy, folks. And nobody thinks that's wrong. I mean, nobody thinks that this country, given the fact that the dollar has basically hit an all-time low, we have an all-time high in oil prices, we produce nothing as an American economy anymore. We got 20 million illegal immigrants devaluing the cost of labor. I mean, folks, where's the bright side in all this, all right? I mean, please, I challenge you, if you think that this is all great, if you think this is a positive spin to America, please set me straight. Please put me in my place. Because let me tell you something, folks, I have prognosticated, and I will prognosticate that by Christmas of next year, we are going to see an economic disaster that this United States has never seen before, ever. And what do I base that on? Well, you take a look at all the economic numbers here right now. the low, I mean, look, folks, you can go on Yahoo right now. It's the front story of Yahoo. All right? Dollar hits all-time low. Okay, now what does that mean? Of course, I bet you a lot of morons don't understand what that means because the American public is a bunch of idiots. But that means that we are spending more than we're producing out here. That's what most people don't understand. I mean, we are going into some unprecedented economic territory. That means we are buying more than we're selling. And that goes against the very principles of economics out here. And you see, nobody's rectifying that situation. You know what they're doing? I'll tell you. This economic stimulus package, folks. This economic stimulus package is the worst idea ever put forth by a politician. And I will never forget George W. Bush for this. It is a slippery slope down a socialist path. I mean, what I expect from the government is for them to govern, okay? To provide an economic landscape for people to go out and work for a living. All right, and I'm not talking about working for peanuts because that's all you can find out here. That's the only jobs you can find out here is jobs that'll work for peanuts. The only industries producing anything in America is the cheeseburger manufacturing industry or the entertainment industry. That's the only thing we produce, folks. And, I mean, if you have any type of intelligence, please compare the Great Depression. You know, we always hear about the Great Depression. Oh, it was bad. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. But we were still producing something in the Great Depression. We were still producing automobiles, okay? We were still producing airplanes. We were producing products back then. We produce nothing anymore, folks. So how are these dumbass politicians going to give us jobs out here? How are they going to do that? Are they going to just wave a magic wand and then jobs are going to arise? No! What are they going to do? They're not telling us what they're going to do, folks. That's why I'm saying this is an impending economic disaster. Now, let me explain to you why. You have this economic stimulus package that was put forth by the President, passed by the Congress, which every one of these Congress people should be voted out of office, folks. I don't care what, all of them should be voted out of office. That's the bottom line. But right now, the only thing keeping our economy alive are these ridiculous tax rebates that everybody's getting back right now. You know, all their tax return, all these tax rebates, that's what people are spending right now as we speak. Okay, and they're going to be done with it, or more than halfway done with it by May. Okay? That's when the economic stimulus package kicks in, conveniently enough. And that's going to sustain us past the summer. And what economists are calculating, that the tax rebates that are handed out right now and the economic stimulus package that's being handed out in May is going to sustain us all the way until the holidays, okay? And all those sums of capital from the tax rebates and the stimulus package are going to, apparently, according to economists, are going to create enough jobs to sustain us until the holiday season. Once the holiday season is done, folks, mark my words, okay? Mark my words. That's when the economic disaster is really going to begin. I mean, it's really going to begin then, folks. Right when the new president takes office. How convenient. Why do you think George W. Bush passed this economic stimulus package? Because he doesn't want to be the president when this economy flushes itself down the proverbial toilet. He doesn't want to be president. That's why he passed the economic stimulus package, folks. And you can sit here and you can try to deny it all you want to. You can think that this economy is going to live forever. You're an idiot if you think so. The only way it's going to rectify itself is if we start rectifying the problems that are causing our economy to screw up. And the biggest problem is this deficit, folks. This American debt. Now, I wasn't against the war in Iraq. I wasn't against the war in Afghanistan. But it is incurring so much debt that it is affecting our American dollar, folks. We are borrowing from that ridiculous excuse of a country called China. And I hate China. I hate the Chinese government. I hope the Chinese government chokes on their damn egg rolls to death, because I hate the Chinese government. But they own the majority of our debt incurred because of all the subsidies that we're given to all these people here in our homeland and all the money we're spending out here at war. Now, what I don't understand is, here we are incurring all this debt. And I don't understand why we as American folks or an American presidential candidate, the Congress, somebody is not demanding that the Iraqi people pay the American public back for liberating their asses. I mean, Iraq, folks, right underneath Iraq lays the second largest oil deposit in the world. Why these Iraqis aren't pumping this out and selling it in the international market and giving us the revenues to pay us back for liberating their asses is beyond me. And why isn't there a presidential candidate advocating this crap? Why? Because the American public are a bunch of morons, folks. That's my point. That's my point. You notice that none of these American people are demanding from Barack Hussein Obama, from Hillary Rodham Clinton, from John Turncoat McCain. They are not demanding from these candidates to advocate that once they're president, they're going to demand that the Iraqi parliament, or whatever that ridiculous excuse for a governing body is, to pay the American people back with interest for liberating their unappreciative asses. And that's the bottom line, folks. That right there, if we start forcing these people to sell that oil, and with all due respect, give us some oil too, all right? So we can, tell these people from OPEC, these oil cartels, F you, okay? F you. Dubai, F you. Saudi Arabia, F you. But you want to know why none of these presidential candidates are talking about this? Because none of the people are talking about it. Because people are morons. People are worried about shoveling another slice of pizza down their gullets. They're more worried about shoveling a four-patted meat burger down their gullets. That's what they're more concerned about. They're more worried about the latest creature on Paris Hilton's crotch. That's what they're more worried about, folks. They're not worried about the devaluing American dollar. And most of these people don't even understand what the deficit means, for Christ's sake. But we need to start paying this down. First of all, I think that's the first thing we need to start demanding from our politicians right now. We need to start calling our congressmen, calling our senators, calling these morons, these poor excuses for presidential candidates, start calling their headquarters and start demanding that these people start talking about having these Iraqi people pay us back with interest. All right? And if they don't, well, folks, we're going to cripple from the inside out if we don't do anything about this deficit. And folks, we are in Iraq, okay? We've got men and women out there fighting and dying out there. Okay? I mean, we're incurring debt out there. The least that these Iraqi pieces of trash can do is pump some oil, sell it on the international market, and give us the revenues with interest. And that's what I expect from all these politicians. That's what I expect for them to say the next time I hear them up on a podium trying to look holier than thou. And that would rectify a little bit of the debt. That would bring up the dollar, folks. What's another thing can we do? What's another thing we could do out here? This immigration problem, folks. This immigration problem is a serious issue, okay? There's 20 million illegal immigrants out here right now that are devaluing the cost of labor. And let me tell you, folks, there's not that much labor to go around out here. Okay? There's no manufacturing jobs anymore. All right? There's not that much labor to go around out here. And the labor that is available to those that have been displaced because of outsourcing, they've got to compete with 20 million illegal immigrants that'll work for 25 cents on the dollar. And you compound that with the fact that the price of living is going up, the price of oil is going up, the price of energy is going up, everything's going up, and yet the cost of pay is going down. That's a recipe for disaster, folks. We need to rectify that problem. We either need to get these 20 million people out of the country and get them the hell out, all right? Or we either, and I am completely against this, folks, but something needs to be done. We can't just let this black market and employment continue on. It's hurting America. It's hurting the American economy. Something needs to be done. If these bleeding hearts don't want to ship these illegal immigrants out of the country, we need to start finding companies and throwing CEOs and small business owners that hire these illegal immigrants. We need to start throwing them in jail. In jail. You start throwing CEOs and small business owners that hire illegal immigrants in jail, I guarantee you the immigration problem will rectify itself. All right? We need to start throwing them in jail and let them rot. Let them rot in jail. These CEOs that are hiring outside of the American interest, throw them in jail. And that's all there is to it. That is all there is to it. Well, that's not going to solve all our problems either. I mean, it's only going to make a dent. We've made a little bit of dent on the deficit by forcing the Iraqi government to pay us back with interest. We're making a little bit of dent on the employment situation by either shipping out 20 million illegal immigrants or start throwing company CEOs and small business owners in jail and forcing them to pay humongous fines to the American government. There's another problem, folks. Where are we going to get all these jobs? I mean, seriously, where are we going to get jobs? I don't see a remedy in this. I mean, our jobs are gone. The means of production in America are gone. You think that we're going to be able to get them back from the Chinese government? You got another thing coming, folks. I mean, the Chinese government is extorting labor out of their populace, okay? These people are working 10, 15 hours a day for 15 cents an hour. You think that American companies are just going to come back to American shores and bring back the means of production because, what, of a tax break? Yeah, right. It's not going to happen, folks. So we either need to take some drastic measures by, calling into question whether or not these multinational corporations still have loyalty to America, or we have a president that organizes one of the greatest conventions. I'm talking about getting all the greatest minds in America, mathematicians, innovators, scientists, physicists, everybody, and hold a 2-3 week convention with these people and have the president make some memorable speech. One of those heart-wrenching speeches to these people and say, hey, wait a minute. We need you, the most brightest minds in our country. We need you to figure out problems. And we need you to figure out solutions to those problems. And once you figure out those solutions to those problems, the president will approach all these big fat cats, okay? All these big fat cats out here, we approach them like Bill Gates and these Warren Buffetts and all these other jagoffs. The president approaches them and says, hey, wait a minute. Right here, this is what the most brilliant minds in America said that we need to do. These are the innovations we need to bring into the new millennium out here so we can create solutions to problems, so that we can create jobs. Because it's innovation that creates jobs, folks. I know that Bill Clinton, old Slick Willie, who turned the Oval Office into the Oral Office, I know he likes to take a lot of credit for the 90s economy, but he had nothing to do with the 90s economy, folks. I mean, let's get real. He did not do anything for this American economy. You know what made this economy flourish so much? Innovation. The personal computer, the internet, networking. Remember that? I mean, remember the dot-com bubble? Remember all that? It was innovation that created that economy, folks. That's why it was flourishing. That's why everybody had jobs back then. That's why everybody was going to get an education so that they can become something in IT, in programming. But what happened to those jobs? They got shipped out. They got shipped out just like every other job has been shipped out of America. Thanks to these power-hungry autocrats we send to Washington, and it needs to stop, folks. It needs to stop. That's why, whether you agree or disagree with my politics, it doesn't matter. It's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans anymore. It's about America. It's about the American Constitution. It's about the American sovereignty. It's about the American way. And the only way we're going to continue to perpetuate what we know of as America is if the general American populace starts taking part in this free society. Because, folks, it is there, like I said, and I'll continue to say it, I will utilize it as an example until the day I die. There is empirical evidence that shows that if the general American populace gets behind an idea, gets behind an issue, the government will crack. And the civil rights movement, folks, shows us that. I mean, the civil rights movement shows us that if the general American populace gets behind an idea, the government will crack. Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. And this is a historical racist bastard. It's been proven he's a racist. But why did he sign the Civil Rights Act? Because the general American populace wanted it. So he cracked under the pressure, folks. And that's exactly what will happen if enough people will take their heads out of their ass and start participating in their American government. That's what will happen, folks. I guarantee it, man. I guarantee it'll happen. But you see, we're prisoner of our own ignorance. We are, folks. We're prisoners of our own ignorance. And it's sad, folks. It really is sad. That's why I make it a point to try to come up on the Blog Talk Radio Network as often as possible to try to provide discourse and debate on subject matters that affect American people. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what race you are, how old you are, what side of the political spectrum you are. You're an American. We're American. And I love America. I don't know about you folks. I love the American Constitution. The American Constitution, and I'll say it and I'll continue to say it until it sticks into everybody's head, it gave us unalienable rights not given to man prior to that document. That's all there is to it, folks. And we need to force these presidential candidates, it doesn't matter what side of the political perspective, it doesn't matter what type of, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum they're on, Democrat, Republican, they need to start talking about issues that are going to affect America. I'm talking about the American economy, I'm talking about the American social landscape, I'm talking about these entitlement programs, I'm talking about the American deficit, I'm talking about the devaluing of the American dollar, I'm talking about the rise in energy prices, I'm talking about real issues that affect you and me as American people. If we don't force these people, because we got to force them, we got to strong arm them. If we don't force these people to start talking, and I'm talking about everybody, because none of these people have talked about any of these issues that I put forth on this program on a consistent basis, whether it's Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Rodham Clinton, John Turncoat McCain, none of these people talk about the issues that I discuss on a consistent basis, and we need to strong arm them, we need to force them, we need to make them talk about issues like this. And that's the only thing, and that's the only way this country is going to redeem itself. Because the American general public sucks, folks. They're all a bunch of buffooneries. And I hope that by being abrasive, by being a little vulgar, I light a fire under some people's asses out here so they can go out and participate in this government that was given to you and me via our great forefathers. Anyway, folks, we are 2 minutes left in the program. I wanted to thank everybody for tuning in with me once again. Like I stated, listen to me in the archive, folks. The archive is www.blogtalkradio.com/ghost. If you happen to have a MySpace, please, by all means, add me as your friend and tell your friends to add me as their friend. MySpace.com/ghostpolitics. That's all one word, no underscores, nothing of that nature. But like I said, folks, forget about the divisions of Republican and Democrat. It's a logical fallacy. That's all there is to it. I mean, it really means nothing anymore. We are Americans. Remember, there needs to be a rise in American nationalism. Remember that? Nationalism? We need a little bit of that in America to maintain our American sovereignty. Okay? I mean, because I love America. I don't want to see the Constitution withered away. And you shouldn't either. And that's why I come up on here and consistently scream and yell and talk with passion and fury, because I love this country. I love this country. Anyway, folks, I will be back on tomorrow. I mean, like I said, I've been sporadic in my show times because, you know, hey, I don't get paid for this garbage, and at the same time, I'm not trying to get paid for this garbage. I'm just trying to relay some information, trying to provide discourse, trying to provide debate on subject matters that pertain you and I. And I want to thank you sincerely for tuning in. I sincerely appreciate your patronage, whether you're listening to me live or on the archive. I appreciate your patronage, folks. Thank you once again. Please get back to me, blogtalkradio.com/ghost. Send out some of these shows to your friends if you think that they'll either get upset or agree with some of the subject matters put forth on these programs. Anyway, folks, I thank you once again. Thank you for tuning in with me. Until next time, myspace.com/ghostpolitics. Long live the conservative movement, folks. And, of course, death to feminism. Thank you very much, folks. God bless you all.
Oye, is that the new Samsung Galaxy S7?
Yeah, I got it for $0 on AT&T Next. Plus, it takes amazing pictures. Oops. Don't worry, it's a water-resistant Samsung Galaxy S7.
You can get the new Samsung Galaxy S7 for $0 on AT&T Next, too. AT&T, mobilizing your world. Requires well-qualified credit, installment agreement, and service. Balance due if service canceled. Taxes, activation, or upgrade, and other fees, charges, and restrictions apply. Water-resistant up to 5 feet for up to 30 minutes. Rinse residue, wipe dry. Visit att.com/next for details.